Hey everyone, welcome to the M&R Show. I'm Ron,
And I'm Malcolm.
and today we have a special guest. I'll let him introduce himself.
Yes, sir. I am Max Van Auken. Thank you guys for having me on the show. I'm a big fan of both of yours and from the Max Van Auken podcast. So you can check me out on any podcast platform. That's YouTube, Max Van Auken. For those that don't know how to spell it, you probably don't. That's VAN space AUKEN. Talk all hoops, UFC, NFL, you name it. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
No problem, no problem.
Nice to have you on. Hey, I appreciate it.
Yeah, me and Malcolm are huge fans of the podcast. We always learning stuff and bringing up some points that you might bring up. Definitely a great podcast. Y'all should definitely tune in. And we're actually going to let him start our first topic today, which is just what's going on with the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, they're like a hot topic right now. So, Max, what's going on with the Dallas Mavericks? What's your take on that?
Well, first is I always say expectations are everything. So what were your expectations before the season started? What are your expectations? And then obviously based off your expectations, then you can kind of determine what's going on. So my expectations were pretty high, especially after what we saw at the bubble.
Yes.
With the Clippers. You could argue should have went to 7 games, but the way Porzingis got ejected, it was a weird situation. So considering what they did with the Clippers, my expectations were extremely high. They are a young team. Luka came in a little out of shape to begin the season, so they were a bit on a rocky start. I understand that. But I think because the expectations were high, we're all caught a little bit by surprise. So I think Mark Cuban is in an interesting position right now. He has a good coach in Rick Carlisle. And in my opinion, this may be a little controversial, I think he has the next best player in the world, and that's Luka. I think LeBron is the guy right now. I think after LeBron's done, and I know that's who knows when that's going to be, then it's going to be Luka. And I know a lot of people think it's Giannis. I go Luka. So you're in a situation where you have such an amazing talent in front of you. You don't want to do what Cleveland did with Braun and wait so long in order to make opportunities happen. You want to make things shake now while you got them. So they have a guy like Porzingis, right? You have interesting young pieces, but they lack defense and they're missing some pieces. So if I'm Mark Cuban, I would try to make some moves now, be aggressive, but strategically be aggressive. I like Tyrell Terry. I said he has that Bluetooth quality. I want to see him get a little more time. I like Tyler Bay. They have young pieces. I just think we need to see more defensively, and they need to tweak the roster a little bit. I talked to Kendrick Perkins about this on Twitter back and forth a little bit.
Yeah.
They need defense, and you need an extra piece there. And I think Mark Cuban can make Dallas that attractive place. No state tax. I know it's a little bit of a long answer, but again, with the next best player, in my opinion, you got Porzingis. You have the pieces now to get something going, and I think it's time for them to kind of shake it up just a little bit. Nothing crazy, but you got to make some tweaks here.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie. I think personally, I definitely maybe have overrated Josh Richardson just a little bit. Because for Miami, I said, he's like a 3-and-D guy, but it's something about him that's just not as good on either one of those ends of the 3 or the D as you just would think by watching some of his games. Because some games he's really good defensively. In some games, Tim Hardaway looks like their best defender, or at least their best versatile defender, because Tim Hardaway's kind of a big frame guy. And then Dorian Finney-Smith, they're not really giving him as much time as they were in the bubble. Like, Dorian Finney-Smith was the 4, small, and a 3, great defender, but they're not really playing him as much. Seemed like Seth Curry was a huge loss. That's almost looking like a fleece right now for Philly loss. Because, man, you and the Philly, Ben Simmons took a smaller load. But for the team, Ben Simmons not scoring much and just getting the ball to the three-pointers, which is probably his best skill, has helped the team tremendously. So it's just the Josh Richardson, the Curry, they kind of sacrificed a little bit of shooting for a little more defense. But the defense wasn't as good as the shooting that they thought they were getting back as well. So that's really my take, Malcolm.
I mean, I understand all y'all points about what y'all said, but if you look at one thing, I think that we're really overlooking what Porzingis has been doing since he's been coming back. I mean, the stats look nice, but if you look more into it, they are a negative 7.2 point differential when he's on the court. Now, when you have Luka off the court with just him, it balloons to 14.2. So you seeing like his production on the court is just not doing well. He's not being in the position to be able to succeed and stuff like that. And I don't know if it's big because he's trying to still work his way off of the knee injury, but there's still some things going on with Kristaps Porzingis. And I feel like if the Mavs is trying to take another step, even I know Josh Richardson has been playing bad, stuff like that. But if you have Kristaps playing like the level he's supposed to be playing, we'll have no questions about what the Mavericks is going on. They are the bottom half of the league in defensive rating, so they have to clean that up because they don't have the efficient offense anymore. I think those are two big reasons of what's going on in Dallas. I understand the supporting cast, that's the supporting cast. And I think Luka needs to get a little bit better too, but Kristaps really needs to get better and show that he is the number 2 player on this team, to be honest with you.
Right. No, that makes complete sense. Sometimes don't outthink the room. Your talent's just not producing.
Yeah,
exactly. That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah, I saw that. I think today I was looking because I was just looking at all the Raptors today just for fun. So far this season, Porzingis had a negative offensive and defensive Raptor.
Yeah,
I mean, we all know he should definitely be positive on both because he's a pretty good rim protector. He's not as slow as people think, and to be 7'3", he can really shoot. Like it's basically like if Brook Lopez was like on steroids at this point of his career. If this Brook Lopez was like young in that type of way, like he's that type of player. I mean, of course, he's not the best playmaker, but he's not a selfish or a ball hog either. So, but like you said, I mean, he is coming off an injury. Even though meniscus isn't, I guess, the worst injury, but if you're 7'3", any injury is probably, to be honest, a bad injury. So
yeah, typically the bigger you are, it doesn't get better.
Yeah, so I guess we can wait a month, see how he looks then. I don't think he's probably also working himself into shape as well. So I'm gonna give it some time.
Yeah, I think it's an accumulation of everything, a little bit of injuries. And also one thing to look at is you have a young team, so identity. It's like you don't have that one true big vet who has a ring.
Yeah.
So when you have like your best player is a young player who's still trying to accomplish things on his own, I think also finding maybe a little bit of an identity as well as the injuries as well as Porzingis. So I think it's an accumulation of a couple of different things.
Yeah, I think they need to be a trade market to find like a veteran wing, and I think that would be good for them. But
Batum would have been good for this team, really.
Yeah, Batum would have been good, but Kristaps has to get better, though. He has to get better.
Yeah. Any final remarks on this topic, though, before we move on?
Give it time. I think the Mavs will be able to turn it around a little bit, and towards the end of the season, hopefully we'll start to see them really hitting that stride when they need to hit it. I still got faith in them.
Hey, it's still a deep West. So I don't know. You can't keep on waiting, but
that's
I
true.
understand.
That's true.
I understand.
Okay, though. Now we're gonna move on to our second topic, which I think is gonna be pretty interesting. I'm pretty sure we all have different duos. So what's the best young duo in the NBA right now? Malcolm's gonna start this one.
You know, I'm happy that I'm able to start this because, you know, the first one who goes understands the best duo in the NBA right now. One of the best young duos in the NBA is Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Now, I want to make sure everyone understand now. Talking about two guys who are in top 15 in scoring right now. Jaylen Brown is averaging 27 points per game. He's up in assists at 3.5. You got Tatum, who's averaging 26.8. You can round it up to 27 too. And this guy is averaging 7 rebounds and 3.7 assists. Now you have two players who have great two-way potential. And Tatum, and then people always talk about how Tatum keeps on holding the ball and Tatum keeps on doing things with the ball. If you look at Tatum, he has 4.8 total possessions per game. And that is way low compared to all these ball-dominant stars that, you know, who are, you know, holding the ball for a lot. And another thing is Jaylen Brown's is a lot lower, too. Brad Stevens as the head coach has done a good job in being able to move around with this offense, even though they have two stars who looks like they do ISO all game. They really don't. They don't really have the ball in their hands a lot and doesn't slow down the offense. So I think Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, they are very good right now. Just imagine how better would they get as the years goes past. They're not even in their prime yet.
Yeah, I wanted Malcolm to go first, everyone, because we all know this is the Boston fan on the podcast. So I mean, it was only right that he picked both of these guys. So it's just like I was also proud to pick these guys, but I didn't want to cheat you guys as a podcaster. So I went with Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. And I was like, how young is Kristaps? But he's actually only 25 years old. Probably a 30-year-old body. But in actual age, he's pretty young. So, and usually when we consider like somebody to be young, quote unquote, it's usually 25 or under. So again, next year, this can't be considered a young duo. But for right now, I consider them a young duo. I mean, we all know Luka was my MVP prediction before the season. I guess it's probably more of a long shot now, but somehow they're going a 10-game win streak or something like that. He's right back in it. So, I mean, Luka's still averaging 29, 9 and 9. Three-point percentage is down, but he is hitting 2 a game. So he just has to get more efficient, but the volume isn't bad. But again, we preach efficiency. And he's not shooting too bad from the line. So, and then, of course, we know Porzingis, like we talked about earlier, has had a slow start to the season, but we all know this is an all-NBA talent. So it's really just about health. Can he stay healthy for long periods of time? Because I'm not worried about is he talented enough to be an all-NBA caliber player. And we saw in those games, like you said, when he played the Clippers in the playoffs, he was like the third best player on the floor. So, I mean, and defensively, he might have been the best player on the floor. I'm talking about even Kawhi, because he was guarding, like, the paint. And they didn't even have Dwight Powell, so they were basically playing him, as a 5. I mean, he is 7'3", but usually he's a 4. So that's just my young duo. Max?
All right. The volume went out for a split second, but then I heard what I needed to hear. You said Luka. Okay. So now Luka is the best player out of everyone we're talking about. But when you go duo, who's that second piece? Now, I was thinking maybe Jamal Murray and Jokic, but what I think I'm gonna agree with your man here. I do think it's Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, because you can make the case that Jaylen Brown is the better player, but I think most would even say Jason Tatum. So when you have that big of a comparison where it can go either way, that's hard to compete with, because normally it's like, okay, this is the best player, this is his Robin. But with them, one night Jaylen Brown's the best, one night is Jason Tatum. I think Jason Tatum's the better scorer. He's more of an artist. Like when he goes down there, he can paint any picture you want. He can pull up, he can hit the 3. He just has such a smooth game. But with Jaylen Brown, I'm getting more of that dog mentality. I'm big on that dog mentality. He has a chip on his shoulder. Ever since I was following him in high school, he's one of those players you don't want to play against. Like he's going to go at you. Even when he was a rookie, he was going at LeBron. So when you have that type of defensive presence, who's improved so much offensively, to go alongside Jason Tatum, and to your point, they're still getting better. And I think they're both all-stars. So, and they also have had the workload of this being their team for some time. So this isn't like a new, you're not asking them to do more than they're used to, because they grew up in this spot. So I think if I were to go with the best young duo, I agree. I think it would be Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
I feel happy, like that you understand. I don't understand why, Brown would put Luka, Kristaps,
I'm not gonna lie, that was a pretty good point. That's a pretty good point.
It is a pretty good point. Like,
but I mean, I think, I don't know, because like if freaking LeBron and Kyrie were on here, like Kyrie was usually never going to be better than LeBron. So I mean, I kind of set up Porzingis kind of a failure, because even on Porzingis' best night, most likely Luka's gave him 8 of those shots. So it's hard, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's just.
And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can get their own shots. They don't really,
they can get their own shot create. Yeah.
And just like he said, like they move with the offense. So, they've been in this offense since they got drafted. Same head coach, same system and everything. They got put in playoff experiences. Like they've been put in every situation that you will never see a 24 and 23-year-old player to be in right now. They are experienced young guys. They're very experienced. And I just think that you add more talent around them, and now Kemba Walker has to play better. He has shown that he's playing better. But the Lakers game was not good. But I expect more for Kemba. But you have Kemba, who's playing a lot better. I think this team can be a scary exit, in the playoffs, especially this year.
Right. I've called the Boston Celtics. I've said this one on SUV TV. I compared them like Muhammad Ali. I said Milwaukee's like George Foreman. That left hook is coming. They're like that's Giannis. But with Boston, it's like, man, they can attack you like with the jab. They got the footwork. They got the head movement. You got Kemba. You got Brad Stevens coaching. That's why I really like Boston, and that's why I liked Denver. But if we were judging this off the bubble, like if the Nuggets were playing how they were playing in the bubble, and I was getting that Jokic and I was getting that Jamal. I may have to lean towards them. I'm going to stick with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, but when you have a guy like Jokic who can give you 40 but yet drop a triple-double but yet arguably be the best passer in the league, and then you have Jamal Murray who isn't missing, it's just like I said, are they the best guard and big since Kobe and Shaq? that's what I kind of get from them. I'm not saying they're Kobe and Shaq, but since them, it's just kind of hard to find a duo like that. So, because I think of Braun as a wing, I'm not looking at him as a guard necessarily, even though he did lead the league in assists, but that's another thing. But yeah, I would say Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but don't sleep on Jokic and Murray though.
I think that Murray, only thing about Murray is that he has to improve his consistency. You know,
100%.
Yeah.
Right.
He's very inconsistent. Like, I seen that he was going good in the playoffs. I said, I mean, that's good, but is he going to do it in the regular season? Are we expecting the regular season? And like, as you look at now, he's going up and down, up and down, up and
Right.
down. So he
Right.
has to improve that consistency for us to be like, okay, this could be a formidable 1-2 punch. But this one good day, 114 points, just not going to have it.
Right.
It's just,
Right.
It's definitely not going to happen.
Okay, now before we end this podcast, I want us to go what we think are the floor and the ceiling of the three teams that we just named. Like, what do you think those young duos can do? So I mean, we just recently talked about Denver. I guess I can start with my floor and ceiling. So their floor, I think, could possibly be a first round exit, but I think your ceiling could also be the Western Conference Finals. So that team really, like you said, by Jamal Murray and Jokic, can really fluctuate. Like, they can really upset somebody. But at the same time, they play, I don't know, the Suns. Like, oh, okay, the Suns, coming in, they're like an 8th seed, 7th seed. You're like, oh, okay, we would definitely be the Suns. Next, Chris Paul turns it up in the playoffs. The D-Book turns up in the playoffs. Aiden turns up in the playoffs on Jokic. So they're one of those teams. What do y'all think about Denver, though, in that way?
I'll go. But for Denver, this is what I think. With Denver, they are going to ride or die with Jamal Murray. I mean,
Yes.
we're not worried about Jokic. We're not really worried about Jokic. We know what he could bring to the table. But when Jamal Murray is on, they could beat anybody. But when Jamal Murray is off, they can hardly beat the first round. The first round team, maybe a 6th or 7th or 8th seed. I just think that we have to worry about Jamal Murray more than anything. So I think the floor is going to be a first round exit. But if Jamal Murray is on, conference championship could be in his book, in his calling, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that as well. And the one thing I would add to that would be Michael Porter Jr. I think if he develops the way I think he can develop, they may not be as Jamal Murray reliant in the future. And so that could help bring it to that next step. Now, obviously, he's not there yet. So I'm going to agree with you guys. I think the floor would be a first round, a ceiling if he's playing like Bubble Murray would be Western Conference Finals. But give that young man a couple years, and I think he could be their guy. I really like Michael Porter a lot.
Yeah, he's very good. Michael Porter, you're right about that.
I mean, the guy had COVID, came back, dropped 32 back-to-back games.
Yeah.
So I mean,
he's a good.
and he's still facing that
good
back
third
injury.
star.
So it's like, but we've done enough Denver. Now we're gonna end off with our Boston floor and ceiling. Malcolm, I'll let you start with that, and then we can go Max after that. I'll end it.
All right. Boston. I think Boston's floor. I think with Boston, if you look at Boston, you have a good coaching staff. You have good surrounding players. I think what Boston's main problem is we got to see the health of Kemba Walker, and then I think that's the biggest problem. I know everybody talks about their bigs, but I'm not really too scared about the bigs. I feel like Daniel Tyson and Tristan Thompson can get the work done when needs to be. I think we don't really have to worry about that a lot, but I just think that Kemba Walker has to step up. And our floor could be a second round exit, or I feel like our high could be. I think Boston has a chance to beat the Nets if everything goes to place. If everything falls into place, because Brooklyn can't play defense. So it's just that Boston has the shots need to fall, because if they don't fall, that's it. But yeah, I just think the finals, not winning the finals, but to the finals is that ceiling.
Yes, sir. You got to say it, Malcolm. You're a Boston guy.
You ain't never lied. You ain't never lied. You ain't.
I gotta make sure I say it. I gotta make sure I say it. You already know.
You gotta say it. Say it with your chest. I think Boston could go to the finals. I really do. I mean, their depth, to everything you said. I mean, I really do believe they can go to the finals. Now, will they? I don't know. I don't know. I would take the Nets. I mean, I'm not a big believer in the Nets, honestly. I think they needed to trade Kyrie Irving. Not attacking Kyrie Irving. And not to go off on a big rant, but I think they have the talent, but they don't have like the depth and the defensive guys yet. And so given off talent, they could probably go to the finals. I don't think they beat the Lakers, but Boston has the depth and they have the defense and they have they have more layers to their team than the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets just happen to have a nasty right hand with Kevin Durant. So when you have that, it's either the Nets or Boston. I know Philly's playing tough, but I think the ceiling is the finals. And I think your floor, I think you said second round. I don't know how their seeding is looking right now. So obviously it depends on who they play in the first round, but that sounds about right. I think they should go to at least the second. And they're getting to the point now, Malcolm, where your team, they just went to the Eastern Conference Finals. So now it's like, okay, you're there. Now you don't want to take a back step and get out in the second round. So the pressure is kind of getting on them a little bit. So I think the floor would be second round. You don't want anything less than that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that, though.
Yeah, I'm basically the same kind of everybody. I guess the only thing that's different, I have their ceiling as the Eastern Conference Finals, and I have their floor as the first round. But like you said, it really depends on who they play. Because like if they play the Pacers, I like the Pacers, but I don't have the Pacers beating Boston.
Right.
But I don't know if they play somehow. I doubt they can play the Bucks or the Nets or Philly in the first round. I just don't think a seeding will fall like that. But if it did, then of course they can get out in the first round. If not, of course, a second round. I think the East top 4 teams are pretty good this year. Like all 4 teams, I think have a chance to go to the finals. I'm not saying they will, but all of them has a fighter's chance to go to the finals. I guess Boston, like you said, only weakness, Mark. You said probably they're big. You say you're not too scared. It's not. I mean, the bigs in the East aren't the greatest. I mean, of course, the MVP right now, Joel Embiid, is in the East right now. But out of all teams, Boston's had Philly's number. So, you know, I'm not too. I guess you're as a Boston fan, and Danny Ainge, he probably ain't too worried about Philly, even though they look better this year. It's just one of those type of teams that you just have that team's number. But yeah.
And I really like the matchup against Boston, against the Nets, if you think about it. You still got 3 scorers in Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum, but you got to look out for guys like Daniel Tice. You know, Daniel Tice will score a quick 20 real quick, you know, if you give him the opportunity to, you know. And then you got DeAndre Jordan, who's been who's been bad. Yeah, they can use that. Definitely will use that. And, you know, Boston has the bigs to be able to make a move, you know, with Robert Williams, Tristan Thompson, you know, who can grab a lot of rebounds, you know, and then you got Daniel Tice who moves around the court. So you never know. That's all I got to say. Never know. Never know.
There you go.
Yeah. So anyway, again, thanks, Max, for coming on the podcast. Definitely, you know, me and Malcolm, again, big fans. If you want to say, you know, where people can follow you again, if we can get off here.
All right. Again, thank you guys, Ron and Malcolm, for having me. Continue doing your thing. You know, I support your guys' podcast. So anything you know or need, you can just shoot me a text. I would love to help. And then anytime you guys want to jump on, you just let me know. You can find me on any Apple podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, anywhere you get podcasts, Instagram, Twitter, Max Van Auken. Shoot me a question, comment. You want to hate on me, you can DM me. I don't shy away from that either. So thank you guys for the opportunity. I enjoyed it.
Hey Max, my question is, when can I get this jacket? The jacket you got, I like it. I like it.
you gotta have the drip, man.
I feel you. Okay, I feel you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay. Right, yeah. Okay. Well, everyone, follow us again on Twitter, Instagram at Malcolm Ron Show. Also, our YouTube at the M&R Show. This episode will probably drop in this week. Might also have another episode dropping this week. So tune in. Anything you have to say, Malcolm?
Hey guys, thanks for the support. Continue on with the support and tell your friends. And I appreciate everybody's support. And y'all have a great day. See y'all later.
All right.